Welcome to the Sober Q podcast.
Hi, my name's David and I'm an alcoholic. My topic today is what convinced me I was powerless over alcohol. So let me start with that. I started drinking when I was around 10 or 11, around 12 I guess. But in my family we grew up with a lot of alcohol around us, so I'd always been drinking. The typical thing where a flu or a cold was satisfied with a shot of rum and some hot lemon. A baby's dummy was always put in brandy, or a sip of beer on dad's lap or grandpa's lap was pretty normal. I guess the first time I got drunk was around 14. That was real drunk. I went and actually bought alcohol myself, or had one of my mates buy it for me. That night was one of the greatest nights of my life. I got the girl of my dreams, I got a dozen mates, and I got a reputation. And at school the next week, all they could talk about was how cool Dave was. My drinking during my teen years was pretty much like a teenager. If I drank too much, I got drunk, and if I got drunk, I did some strange and weird things and paid the price for it with scoldings from parents and the rest of it. You know, it's the typical teenage stuff where I drank too much, the room span, and I raced to the toilet and was violently ill. Occasionally there was problems in my teens with drinking, but not super noticeably. I guess it started more around in my 20s, in my early 20s. What happened then was that I would get drunker than everybody else, or more to it, I'd be staying on at the pubs and clubs when everybody else went home. It didn't matter if all my mates wanted to leave and go home, I wanted to stay. Even girlfriends, I'd just let them go. It was more important for me to stay. In my mind at the time, I was having fun. You know, little was I to find out that later on when I joined Alcoholics Anonymous, it was the craving of alcohol that was making me stay there. I wasn't enjoying it really, it was all in my mind. I was getting in fights with bouncers, black eyes, broken arms, you know, all the things that came along with being insanely drunk. And yet I stayed and hung on at the places to get that next drink. Things like my emotions got way out of control when I drank. That was starting to happen, so fights with friends and family. It wasn't until I got to Alcoholics Anonymous that's when I found out that I was powerless over alcohol. Not only was I powerless once I'd picked up the alcohol and got insanely drunk, as I normally always did because of a craving for alcohol, an allergy type thing that happened to me, an abnormal effect that alcohol had on me but didn't seem to have on other people. And then I'd do weird and strange things because I was insanely drunk. But by now I'd already tried quitting hundreds of times. I could never stay quit. Even though I promised everybody, I did all the things, you know, and people took credit cards away from me, took my money away from me. I would find a drink. I just couldn't stay stopped. Until I joined Alcoholics Anonymous, I didn't know that was my problem. My problem wasn't just that I was powerless after alcohol when I'd picked up. It was powerlessness that I could never ever stay put down. On my last drink, I stood over the kitchen with my hands in the sink, looking down and thinking, why is all this pain continuously happening? And it came to me. It was always going to happen to me if I picked up a drink, and I was always going to pick up a drink. I was stuck. My mind was one of those that, although I wanted to quit drinking, I was never going to be able to quit on my own. I'd proved that to myself hundreds and hundreds of times before. Something had to change. I came to step one that day. I was powerless over alcohol. Powerless after, as I've said, the crazy things I do once I'm insanely drunk from picking up the first drink. But I was also powerless. I could never quit on my own. I was in trouble.
If you would like to share your experience on a recovery question, visit the Sober Q podcast website at soberq.com. Thanks for listening.